And a pleasant Saturday to you. I'm Jim Byers, track announcer, alongside track handicapper and line maker and sometimes clocker Rick Lee. Rick, welcome. Let's get on to the action here on this Dollar Day. We have 10 races live here at Lone Star, Fast Main Track, Firm Turf Course. A few scratches to give you throughout the day. So let's get right on to the first. Rick, a somewhat pivotal scratch in my eyes in the first race. So pivotal that I changed my picks. First race today, 5.5 furlongs, non-winners of 2 claimers. Scratch part of the entry, number 1, Vehement. He was my original top pick. I did not keep Laughing Latinos up there. You know, about 4 or 5 years ago, I did that when an entry scratched, and I was burned. But after 4 or 5 years, that burn has healed. So I am taking Laughing Latinos, moving him down to third, and using Roma as my top pick. Also scratched the 6, Sir Etney John, so the plain 1 and the 6 out of the first.
Yeah, and I think the race starts with the 5 now, Wind Chill Czar, who is a little bit cold on the board at the moment at 5-1. Extremely impressive last start at Fairgrounds in a maiden 12.5. Wins by 3 1/2. Hand ride the last 16th of a mile. Just a crushing win. It was on a sloppy track, but his previous race was on a muddy track, and he didn't run as impressively. So I'm thinking maybe the horse is just, got good at the moment. He'd raced well on synthetic surfaces at Woodbine, so it's not like he's just a mud track runner. Claimed by a trainer that historically wins races here. I guess the downside would be, where's the activity? Unraced since March 24th, no recent workouts. And that last win again, the buyer figure in there, 81, it just dwarfs what any of the horses in this field can do. But again, it's part of the handicapping puzzle. This horse, if he runs that race back, he's going to be a repeat winner. And I'm going to take a chance that he can run that on a fast track. The 8, Rama, is my second selection. Boy, he loves to run second. That's his thing. He's won 1 out of 15 only. His last 4 races have all produced second-place finishes. And at the 16th, boys, it looked like he was going to run by the leader in almost every one of those races, and he just seems to pull himself up a little bit. And so this is a type of horse with, high-profile connections, going to take a lot of money. I just don't trust his willingness to win. So I think he's worth taking a chance to try to beat. And then the 2-horse 50 Shades of Purple for Mindy Willis. Last time out, tried the turf for the first-time turf sprinting and folded after contesting the pace. But his previous race in the non-winners at 2 at Houston sprinting was a really nice third-place finish at 6 furlongs. Cuts back a little bit to 5 1/2 today. If he breaks alertly from the rail, then he's a major player.
Yeah, I agree. We see the race a little differently in that I didn't use Wind Chill Czar at all. And it always scares me when you pick a horse on top and I don't use him at all, because that generally means that I have missed something along the way. But the thing that concerns me about Wind Chill Czar, you touched on it. Why does a new trainer claim a horse going on 2 months ago and never have him out for a formal work? That's a real red flag for me. That was a real red flag for me with Vehement as well, who also hadn't raced since late March and also hadn't worked, but Vehement's out. So I leaned against Wind Chill Czar. Rama really scared me. I originally tried to pick against him to begin with because, again, like you said, he seems to be allergic to winning, and he's very familiar with the cheaper non-winners of 2 levels. It's not like he's dropping out of much tougher spots.
Right.
However, last race he really did close well. He made up 3.5 lengths in 100 yards at the end of that race, and I know he always runs second, and he may very well run second today, but I couldn't get past that. Asmussen's horses, especially here, I don't know if it's this way everywhere, but even his cheaper ones, they finish well. They're rarely gutless. Sometimes they're not good enough or fast enough, but so I'm going to go with Rama over 50 Shades of Purple and Laughing Latinos, who has a lot of speed. Third pick. First race, I don't know. It could go any one of a number of ways, I think. On to the second. Take out the 4, the time's right, and that leaves a field of 5 to contest this one.
Yeah, and even though it's a field of 5, it's a difficult race. I went with the 3, Lady Ileana for Broberg. 2 sprints in her career. Both of them were kind of even efforts, but a lot of the times horses sprinting even efforts produce much better results around 2 turns. Certainly bred top and bottom to run 2 turns or to be better at the distance. David Cabrera, who rode this filly in 2 starts at Oaklawn, gets the call. He's been red hot since he arrived here. I mean, he had a great Oaklawn meet as well, but he's riding so well. I just feel like on this stretch out, who's going to be the most apt to improve in this field? And I think it's Lady Ileana. The one horse, It's Good to Be King, is my next selection. Been in the money in 3 or 4 starts at the distance, so I got to like that. Draws inside after having a wide trip last time out. And then I went to the 5, who I liked a little more preparing for the seminar than I did 7 days ago. That 4th place finish, only previous route race at Houston, 2 starts back, has produced 4 next out winners. Not only the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place finisher, but the 6th place finisher as well. 2 sprint races haven't shown much at all. However, in the route race was close to the lead. And I'm assuming if they gun this gray filly from the gate, then maybe she'll be able to run another really nice effort.
Yeah, I went with her over Lady Eliana, who I have a lot of respect for, only because I'm not as enamored of the stretch-out angle as you are, and sometimes, that comes back to bite me. But I really liked this horse's race 2 races ago in mid-March there at Houston. I thought it was much more indicative of what she might be able to do in this spot than the last race when she was 79-1 and against maiden specials here and, completely chucked it in. So I went with Mission Reality on top. These connections had a heavy favorite yesterday in Cat Second Silver that didn't work out, but that's a different horse, different day. There's no reason they can't win here. So I am taking Mission Reality over Lady Eliana, and I think Moon Lovin' on the stretch out, coming off a big one buyer in her last race, but she does have the Asmussen touch. We'll see how the drop works for her. When Steve drops him to the bottom, sometimes it's a good sign, sometimes it isn't in these maiden ranks.
Yeah.
But that is still an interesting race despite the field size. On to the 3rd. We've got a video here. Scratch the 1, Attain Success. Scratch the 3, Best You Ever Seen. Now, originally this video was more interesting because Best You Ever Seen is winning the race. But let's go to Oaklawn and watch number 5, looking for 8. He's number 8, by the way, in this race. Now, he is going to be laying about 5th right now on the outside. Red silks, yellow sleeves, the Broberg silks, the 8 horse, looking for 8, closing hard on the outside. Now, Best You Ever Seen is the horse on the lead, and that's the horse that's going to win. But looking for 8 really closes good ground here, and I thought he ran a really nice race. It was seemed to be getting to Best You Ever Seen at the end. Now, Broberg entered them both back in this spot. Best You Ever Seen scratched after a really poor effort on the 1st of May, a week ago today at Oaklawn. Looking for 8, despite all of that, is not my top pick in this race. I'm going with Reason to Soar, as you are.
Yeah, Reason to Soar has just been a win machine. I mean, he's won 6 of his last 8 races. The 2 defeats were second-place finishes. Those races have been at Oaklawn and Churchill Downs and Keeneland. If you go back to last year, this 7-year-old did run once at Lone Star Park and produced a 90 Beyer figure, winning by 11 lengths. So I don't think he has to bring his racetrack with him. Consistently runs figures, faster than his competition today have produced. Diodoro's off to a sluggish start, but he comes through when he's odds on, and he's going to be odds on today. Looking for 8, Jim just mentioned, and we saw the video, really a fast closing sprinter now. When Broberg claimed the horse was a 2-turn runner. Broberg slapped blinkers on this 7-year-old veteran, turned him into a 1-run sprinter, and it looks like it's done him good. He's really finished powerfully in his sprint races. In this short field with a likely pretty slow pace, it could be difficult for him today. Then the 2, Shifty Henry, who's really been consistent. He, too's hit the board or been winning at a constant level. He is a Texas bred, so he's running up against some really hard-knocking veterans in this race. But he's the obvious pace setter in the race. If he can back it up enough, I wouldn't say he can't win, certainly in a field this short. And his Beyer figures are pretty competitive.
Yeah, I have the same picks in the same order. So let's turn the page here and move on to race number 4. There is a scratch of a long shot out of the 4th race, which is a first-level allowance for Texas-bred fillies. That's the 4 Outsmarted. they'll go 1 mile in this one, and there's going to be an obvious favorite and an obvious pick for both of us in here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like if you're, betting multi-race, I think you might be able to use two in here. It's strictly a two-horse race. Tahitian Breeze, I made odds on here, 3 to 5, was a 8-length, 2-turn maiden special weight winner in Texas Bred Company. This is a Texas Bred allowance race, going 2 turns with today's rider aboard. Then tried open allowance rivals around 2 turns at Houston March 18th. Once again, close to the pace, finishing a really strong second. Now finally back in with Texas Breds. 2-turn form is really good for trainer Tina Hurley, who had a really good Houston meeting, and 2 good recent works over the Lone Star track. So deserved, strong favoritism. The only field I think has a slugger's chance in here is Set the Pace for Brett Calhoun. Won a maiden special weight sprint at Houston last time out. That race has produced 2 next out winners. Looks like probably beyond a clear lead if they send away from there. First time 2 turns, and if she takes to the distance, she might be trouble to catch in here.
Yep.
Then again, we like to say, I had to pick something third. I went with Jamie's Lil Fear, a lightly raced 6-year-old mare who has competitive figures. However, those figures are coming on turf, so you just got to hope she really likes the surface here at Lone Star Park stretching out.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and really don't have a lot to add. The only thing I might add is Weston Hamilton, the rider of Tahitian Breeze, the favorite in this race, was the Eclipse Award winner for Top Apprentice just 3 years ago in 2018. Had a bang-up year in Maryland, tough circuit. So Weston Hamilton is a rider to pay attention to. He hasn't gotten on a lot of particularly live horses yet this meet, but watch for him if he gets the opportunity, like with this one, to ride this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tahitian Breeze is his only winning mount this year. He's only had 1 win, and it was on this one, so this mare. So we'll see how it goes today.
He won a lot of races back when he was a bug boy. On to the 5th. State Bred Maiden Special Weights going 6.5 furlongs. First Bump Ridge was entered when he was still a maiden, but that is not the case anymore. He got a nice win last week, so he is scratched.
Yeah, lucky I caught that before the line, so I just made him 99 to 1, knowing he'd be coming out of there. Bournasian is my top pick for Broberg. Finished second in the Open 25 sprint last fall at Remington Park. Then after a few poor performances at Oaklawn and Fairgrounds, found his own type, we'll say, coming here to Lone Star Park. Finishes second, 2 1/4 lengths back to the third-place finisher. That was here on opening weekend. Does move up to a maiden special weight race from a state bred maiden 20, but this field did not come up very strong. That is the fastest last race figure in the race, or buyer figure. So Broberg has this 3-year-old running well right now. He's the one to beat. 6 Big One is my second selection. Finished third in his only start as a 2-year-old here at Lone Star Park, and that was his career debut. This year at Houston, finishes second after a very long layoff. That was in a maiden 25. Was dropped down by Danny, pitched to 7,500. Horse did not get away from there well, but finished up, I thought, pretty good in that race on April 3rd at Houston. Trainer Steve Asmussen claimed this 3-year-old for himself, has given him a few breezes. If Steve can move this one up, if he can leave there running a little bit better, because he's sure been being behind in his races, perhaps he can pull off the win. And let's go to the 2, Moonshine Boy, who caught a muddy track last time out and raced around 2 turns, was forwardly placed, probably got a lot of fitness out of that race. His previous sprint here on opening night did produce a buyer figure that puts him right there, that 48 finishing 4th. And it just looks to me in his third start, he should have no excuses. Third start of the season, I should say.
Yeah. That's 3 quick starts out of the chute. If he were just coming off the April 22nd race, I'd like him a little bit more. But we have the same top 2 picks. My third pick is a little bit of a flyer in the 1 West Texas Song. Has the rail, has been off since August, has a nice half-mile breeze here on April 23rd. Might show a little bit better speed than he showed before, being fresh and on the inside. And I don't know how much pace there's going to be in this race. So I took a flyer on him as a third pick. All right, on to the 6th, our first 2-year-old race of the year. And this is an interesting one in that, there's there's no Calhoun, there's no Caldwell, there's none of the Brobergs, there's none of the trainers that frequently unveil 2-year-olds here early. Not to say anything against the trainers that are represented here, it's lacking the names at the top of the standings that are usually in our 2-year-old races, except for Gustafson, who is our top pick.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't seen many of these either. Usually, the advantage of clocking, you get to see all of them, and I haven't seen many of these at all yet this season. I went with for Casey's memory, Austin Gustafson having his second great year in a row. That April 21st work, 36-4 from the gate, the fastest of 20. Then just a little maintenance move popped out of the gate in the slop on May 2nd. Miss Derrick was a multiple stakes winner. I'm talking about his dam. So she could run. You got a jockey-trainer combination winning at 34%. So I'm going to give Casey's memory the chance to win the first baby race. The 5, Corn Pop is my next selection. He's a Run Happy. Run Happy was a 2015 Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. That's the good news. The bad news is he's not been a good sire with first-time starters. I think he's hitting at 3%, when I looked it up coming down here. But he was certainly a phenomenal sprinting machine. And the dam won $100,000 in her career as well. The works look solid for a stable that historically does pretty well with 2-year-olds. So I'm giving Corn Pop and his stablemate, the 3, Free Like a Girl, who does have better-looking works. That May 2nd work, 35 flat breezing from the gate. That work came after the line was done, the picks were in. I wasn't even aware that this filly could work like that. When you see Munnings in a pedigree too, you think nothing but brilliant speed. So Free Like a Girl would have probably been my second pick in retrospect. But either way, I think the contention lies with the 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Originally Big Results, who scratched out of this race. I don't know if I mentioned that the half of the entry, the one Big Results is out. At least Big Results had worked a half mile, which is approximating the distance of this race. Not so much for the others. I stuck with Casey's memory as a second pick, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I stuck with Big Rojo, the remaining part of the entry, as a second pick. He has a half mile work as well, but I typically don't have a good eye for these 2-year-old races here, especially early in the meet. So we have the same top pick. We'll see how that shakes out. Let's move on to the 7th. Couple of scratches out of the 7th here to kick off the late pick 4. The 1, Theorist, and the 7, Got No Cash, who I was taking a flyer on for second off the bench for Matt Hebert, but it's not going to happen today.
Yeah, this is a very difficult race. Even after scratches, it didn't really help me all that much. Very little early speed in this field. That's the first thing that jumps out at you, especially considering it's 5 1/2 furlongs. A Doc's Class Act. I've been on the Fincher bandwagon since opening day. Finished second, first time out of the season here, April 24th. What I liked about that race is that he's usually much closer to the pace than he was in that day. Got dirt in his face, still finished second. That was an open condition claiming race. Now he's in a race restricted to Texas breds. If he breaks like he'd been doing at Houston, then I think he's going to be, difficult to beat. The 2, Nile, is my next selection, was a nice non-winner's a 2 winner at Oaklawn Park, and that credential alone, makes him a big threat here. Late runner, doesn't have much speed whatsoever. Veteran Luis Quinones gets a call, and Luis is really good with this type. Then with the band, the 3, who finished second at this exact same non-winners, the 3, state bred condition just 2 races ago. Was a little bit of a disappointment last time out, finishing 5th, but he was beaten only 2 1/4 lengths. You see he ran a big buyer figure back at Remington in December. That number of 64 would probably win this race if he can run that one back.
Yeah, I had a hard time behind Doc's Class Act, who's my top pick as well. Trying to figure them out for second and third. I wound up giving a coin flip to With the Band, who's 2 for 30. Both him and Nile are not exactly the most photogenic runners. Nile's record is better, though, at 2 for 23. But interesting, Nile has no in-the-money finishes other than his 2 wins. Part of that could be he's been knocking heads with, a little bit better types at Oaklawn and Remington and here. But so coin flip, I went with the Band over Nile for second. But like you, I'm on Doc's Class Act here. I thought his last race was pretty good. And Switches Barnes, early on in this stand, which is interesting. I don't know if Clinton Stewart is, wanting to race more at Will Rogers or what. But, now, the 8th race is a non-winners of 3 claimer at a mile. We have a video here. We're going to show an Arkansas bred who is my 4th pick, but I wanted to show the race anyway. Amazing Wisdom, Blue Silks rallies widest on the turn. This is April 16th at Oak Lawn against Arkansas breds. This horse was 10th under Louis Q early in the running here. Rallies widest and is roaring up here. He's number 7 with the orange shadow roll, and he will go on and win this race under Louis Q. Actually, I think he's number 10. Sorry, I had the wrong number. Oh, no, I didn't. I was looking at the wrong horse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he won impressively.
I have a partially obstructed view of the monitor, and I missed the, okay. So I was right the first time. The 7, Amazing Wisdom. What I wanted to point out was his runs with his head real high. I don't know what that means, if anything, but all the way through the stretches, he rallied wide, went on to win by a romping margin. His chin was way up. Even with all that, and with Danny Pish, congratulations on winning win number 2,500 yesterday. I couldn't use him much higher than 4th, but, for your sake, I like to give the Arkansas breds a little shot.
Yeah, well, thank you much. The horse, what's interesting about that race is it was his first 2-turn race on the main track of his career. So hopefully that portends to something really big, today, because that was certainly a really good effort. Days of Glory, I laid 6-5. One of non-winners of 2 for $25,000 around 2 turns at Houston. Then and the non-winners of 3 for $25,000 at Houston going 7/8. Just got caught late. Looks like his best races have come with Stuart Elliott aboard. Draws a good inside post position. Lowest claiming price. And then Steve Asmussen, who's off to a tremendous start. Arrow Street for 2nd, who has finished 2nd at this exact same condition at Houston. That was a couple starts back. And then runs really competitive at a higher level, finishing just 3/4 of a length behind Days of Glory. So obviously there's not a lot separating the two of them. The difference is Arrow Street last time out tried turf. Draw a line through that race. His numbers look very competitive in here. And let's go to the 5, Dino's Cape. So Danny Pish is running an uncoupled entry in here. This has been a very popular horse. Has been claimed in 3 consecutive races. Has hit the board in all 3 starts. Does have the benefit of a race over this track April 25th, having finished 3rd. That was a $5,000 claimer. But again, on buyer figure scale, this horse belongs and has really good tactical speed. So should be, right there with no excuses.
Yeah, I agree. I used him 2nd, as a matter of fact. Days of Glory, to me, was kind of an obvious pick. I went with Dino's Cape 2nd over Arrow Street, and I see we both have Amazing Wisdom as a 3rd pick. I just like the fact that Amazing Wisdom was 10 lengths back at the first 2 points of call, and then really rallied well on that wet, fast, sealed surface and drew away. Gets away from Arkansas breds today, but I still couldn't move him up higher than 4th. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him unleash a good rally.
Yeah, and the horse I owned at one time, it was actually a really good horse, stake winner. He ran with his head high, too.
Did he?
I mean, he ran every race like that. So my guess is you'll see a high-headed horse today.
Probably. On to the 9th. Mile on turf, good filly mare allowance. Really nice field in here. This could be a named race, I think, quite easily.
Yeah, this is a really competitive race. I went with the 6, Our Iris Road. I just felt like that she might be a slightly better price than some of the other contenders in here. She generally shows good early speed. She tried turf for the very first time in the Miss Houston, which several of these come out of that race, and found herself really far behind. Finished 4th, and it was a fast closing 4th after losing a lot of ground. I just feel like if she comes away from there like she typically does, she'll be in a much better position. The 3, Brandon's Babe, another one, did finish slightly in front of my pick in the same Miss Houston. Really good record on turf. 9 races, 3 wins, 2 seconds, 3 thirds. Just a picture of consistency for Karen Jacks and Iram Diego. And then the 4, Curlin's Journey. What scares me about this one as far as picking against it is the pace in the Miss Houston was very rapid. That's why a lot of these came from further back than they typically do. And Curlin's Journey was actually much closer than the horses I picked 1st and 2nd. Might get an absolute dream trip today. If you look, she prepped for the Lone Star Turf last year. by winning an allowance race just like this one. So, again, wins here, probably will go to a turf stake after this. But to me, this is a super competitive race. So I was kind of trying to find something that might have a little bit of value.
Yeah, I agree. I used all of them but one in the suggested pick 4 ticket, and the one I left off was Corluna, who has won twice on this course, and was probably a bad decision on my part. I probably should have hit the all button on this one as well. I went with Curlin's Journey. I remember that race last year. We were all paying attention to Quebec, and she was like maybe 4-5 or 6-5, and Curlin's Journey beat her. Seems to like this course. I did like her performance in the Miss Houston a little bit better than a couple of the others coming out of that race. So I'm in a very close call. I'm going to go give her the nod over the 2 Discreet Smile. Discreet Smiles only had 1 race this year, and that was the San Jacinto on that same. No, it wasn't the same day. I'm sorry. It was the previous stakes day down there. Ran a pretty nice race. I think she might be I don't know about a price. I mean, she's 3-1 on the line, and justifiably so. But, I mean, she can run with these, I think. Loves the turf. So I went with her for second to Brandon's Babe off a pretty good race last time as third. But, yeah, I mean, you can make a case for just about everybody. I didn't use I did not use Heavenly Rhythm either. I didn't use Corluna or Heavenly Rhythm on my suggested pick 4, and I think possibly should have included Corluna just because of her past.
Probably should have, because it doesn't add that much to your ticket when you already have so many. So.
Well, partially, I did have 2 more on an earlier race that got scratched, and I should have supplemented the ticket in that race, but ran out of time. On to the 10th. Maiden $7,500 claiming fillies and mares sprinting 5/8.
Yeah, in this region, the Oaklawn class seems to prevail so often. Little respect, the 6 in here. Strongest buyer figures in here, 3 in the money finishes at Oaklawn in 4 starts. Has been forwardly placed in each of them. I expect this mare to either be on the lead or very close, and should be difficult to handle. The 1, Scarlett O'Hana, good speed from an inside post position. Finished second, does have the benefit again of a good recent race here at Lone Star Park. Telluride Queen, the filly that beat her, was 4-5, so that was a really good effort against a really strong favorite. Really lucky, broke last in her career debut here in the same race with Scarlett O'Hana. Made a nice middle move, 5 wide out in the middle of the track. Finishing 4th, Diodoro had her then, was claimed by Amanda Barton. Should benefit from the experience. We have no idea. We know she's bet down to 4-1. But on the flip side, it was a 7-horse field, and Diodoro, trained this filly, so that's not exactly, getting hit heavy. But, again, with the experience, a lot of second-time starters show marked improvement, so I would not toss Really Lucky by any means.
Yeah, I'm trying to beat Little Respect. I mean, she's, the Oaklawn form has really been good here, especially the last week or so since we've started to get a little bit better Oaklawn horses in here. I'm still going to try to beat her, even though she's dropping to a winning level. I'm taking Scarlett O'Hana. In between calls in the stretch, she did get a narrow lead for a couple of jumps and gave it up. But like you say, Telluride Queen was a heavy favorite and seemed destined to win that day. She ran a good race last time, but I wasn't absolutely enamored with it, but it was enough to show me that maybe she could beat the favorite here. I don't know. I took her over the 6, but my sort of flyer pick, my version of Really Lucky is I pick Phoebe, picks up Ramon Vasquez for this. Started at Turf Paradise, ran a halfway decent race, it looks like, went to Oaklawn, found herself in kind of tough there, had an obviously difficult start in the April 15th race, came back last week, seemed to be up in the early mix and completely backed out of it. I don't know. If the Oaklawn class is going to hold, it's going to have to really take a hold for her. But I picked Phoebe as a 3rd.
Yeah, I'd like to know the relation. Greg Green, Aiden Green, he's getting a lot of horses from Aiden. Yeah. I don't know if it's a brother or dad, but Aiden had a tremendous Oaklawn meeting. I mean, it seems like a really sharp outfit. So, keep an eye on Greg Green at this meeting. Just see if he isn't going to be able to win at some prices.
It's $1 day today, so enjoy that if you're here on track. If you're off track, thanks for looking in. And for Rick Lee, I'm Jim Byers. We'll be back tomorrow with another 2:35 Central Time, first post time, and enjoy the races today.